It's the question that rears its ugly head this time of year every year. Did the committee get it right? We're going to spend the next 30 minutes discussing it. It's Chalk and Chat Bowl Edition starts right now.
From Las Vegas, this is Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook and Westgate Las Vegas.
Welcome into Chalk and Chat. I'm Mariah Janos. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and most importantly, Happy Bowl season. While pro football is typically our shtick, this episode is dedicated solely to the college game. And here to get into all of it with me are Santa's little helpers. The head elf in charge, Santa's right-hand man, the proofreader of the Naughty and Nice list. It's Teddy Covers. And next to him, you'll find him in the kitchen eating everything Mrs. Claus is cooking while likely trying to cop a feel, therefore permanently solidifying himself on the naughty list. It's Fat Jack.
Yeah, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this show needs to be an hour. For sure. We could talk about all the things going on. When I was looking at the notes, I disagree with most of what Teddy's going to say.
Perfect. Well, before we even get there, let me tell you what's coming up on today's show. That age-old question of whether or not the selection committee got the college football playoff field right. Plus, we're taking a look at some of those teams on the bye and how they could use it to their advantage. And the guys are breaking down some bowl games outside of the playoff that they like, rounded out by our best bets. But let's start with that question that I keep on bringing up, you guys. Did the committee get it right this time around?
Well, it started with two teams playing for a title. I remember that was actually my first year in Las Vegas. It was Florida State and Virginia Tech. Michael Vick's last game as a collegiate.
Hold on. It started with a bunch of Poindexters sitting around in the AP and the coaches poll voting on who they thought was the best, and nobody got to play anybody. So we've come a long way since then.
Sure, but it started with two teams playing for a title. Then we got 4 teams playing for a title. Then we have 12 teams playing for a title last year and this year. And what does that prove? It proves to me that it doesn't matter how many teams get in, there's always going to be controversy. How long until we get 24, 32? Is this going to be a 64-team tournament?
March Madness in January. Why not?
No, first of all, that's not accurate. We don't need 32 or 64 because
we don't need them. But are we going to get
24?
The argument becomes: do the non-power 4, should they get in or not get in? When you expand it a little bit, you're going to get these 2 or 3 more marginal teams in these power conferences, along with hopefully 1 or 2 more of these other non-power 4s, and that's important for football as a whole. We'll discuss it later on, but I think an expansion, but not a huge expansion, makes some sense.
All right, Teddy, as you were saying.
So let's talk in particular Notre Dame, and there's the Notre Dame-Miami controversy.
Yep.
Notre Dame squawking. They had a conference of athletic directors here in Las Vegas last week, and their AD made headlines all over the place talking about how they deserved the bid and Miami stole their bid. Miami beat them outright. If an outright win doesn't matter head-to-head, I don't know what matters, Jack.
It's that, and who was their best win? I mean, we talk about Notre Dame, you go 3 places. You're not in a conference, so you're not getting back by anybody. You don't have a great win, and you lost head up to the other team that they're thinking about putting in. I think they had the least of all the arguments would be Notre Dame. They did not belong in over actually BYU.
So how do you feel about that narrative that this is the committee's way of getting back at them for not being in a conference? Do you think that even matters at all, or is it more about their actual performance and how they played throughout the season?
Well, they lost, so.
Yeah, I mean, it came down to one head-to-head matchup between 2 teams that got there, and because Notre Dame lost that head-to-head matchup, the committee could not put them in. That being said, if we're looking for the 12 best teams in the country, Notre Dame is one of those teams.
We're not, though.
My number says Notre Dame is number 3 in the country, behind only Ohio State and Indiana. Miami's number 10 in my number. They're behind 3-loss Alabama. They're behind 3-loss Texas. So if you're asking who are the best teams, Notre Dame's the best team, but they still don't deserve to be there. They lost head-to-head.
Yeah, and we're talking about college football as a whole. I mean, we're not talking about the best 12 teams. We have to support the entire league. Everybody that's a D1 team needs to have the opportunity to go in and recruit against these big boys. If you're just going to have the top 12 teams, everybody else is literally playing for the Poindexter Bowl or whatever. They're not playing for anything. I think having that opportunity to be one of those non-power 4s to go in and say, listen, we're going to win, we're going to be the best, we're going to get to play them, come play for us, is good for the sport as a whole. But you're right. They're not the top best 12 teams. And when you're talking from a gambling perspective, that's where you're going to look. We always want the best so that we can figure that out. But that's not what this is about. You have to give those smaller dogs an opportunity to get to the game.
So BYU is the other team that people are complaining about.
Truth.
You know, BYU, who only lost twice, and both of the losses came to the same team, Texas Tech, who's in the big dance of college football. So that's the argument for BYU. But my powering numbers, again, and that's what I base on who the best teams are, is my numbers. My powering number says that BYU has no argument. They're outside the top 20. Teams like Iowa, Michigan, Tennessee, Missouri, USC, all ranked in my numbers higher than BYU, despite BYU's only suffering 2
It's easy to look internal, and that's what the committee does on where they think these teams are. But the reality is, what happens if Texas Tech goes and wins the entire thing? BYU's sitting there saying, no, wait a minute. We lost to the eventual national championship. They're already lost to a team that's getting a bye in the first round, has great numbers on both sides of the ball. This is a team that went out and paid to play, did the best of that, the new world of college football, being able to put a team together, just a team, athletes that should be at Alabama, should be at Georgia. They're now playing in West Texas for a bunch of oilies and eating a bunch of Mexican food, and that's gotten it done this year. So if that team goes on and gets it done all the way, which, by the way, I have an 85-1 ticket on that for $1,000. I'm pulling for them, and I want them to win. And if they do, BYU's going to be saying, wait a minute, we should not be babysitting right now. We should be out there getting after it on the field in the playoffs. So I like the idea of BYU. I think they had the biggest gripe of all the teams.
Okay. And then, we got to talk about the weird rule with the highest ranked conference champions. Like, where do we stand on that?
Sure. The 5 highest ranked conference champions all got auto bids. Mm-hmm. And what that meant was that Duke, despite winning the ACC, didn't get an auto bid. So James Madison and Tulane, 2 group of 5 teams, got in. Now, make no mistake about it. The Dukes and the Green Wave, they're not in my top 30. Okay, college football teams, not in terms of power ratings. And my numbers say the committee did not have the 12 best teams. If they did, Texas, Vandy, Notre Dame would be in. Oklahoma, Tulane, James Madison would not.
Tulane, James Madison would be playing in some meaningless bowl, and when they go recruit here in a week or so, they would be recruiting second-tier athletes because they would have no chance to play. It helps the programs elevate themselves, along with a team like Ole Miss that has a lot of controversy, a lot of things going on. They lose their coach, but they can go and say, especially if they were to win a game, listen, it's not about Lane Kiffin. It's about us as a program being able to take that next step. College football, like the pro football, is a stair-stepping league. You normally don't go from zero to hero unless you're a Texas Tech or Texas A&M with all this money. I like to give those lower teams at least an opportunity to step up and play the big boys.
You sound like an athletic director.
So, you know what? I am such a giver.
You're really rooting for the young men who just want to get a good education and play ball. I love it.
More than an Xbox when you go to a bowl game would be the goal. Let's quit with the goodie bags. Let's try to play for something.
Yeah, no participation trophies. Okay, all right, we're just getting started here on Chalk and Chat. Coming up, 4 teams have a first-round bye in the college football playoff. Is history on their side when it comes to that? We're getting into it next.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, we are here at the Superbook at the Westgate with our pal Casey. We're going to talk some college football here. First of all, I just want to get your thoughts. Did the committee get the playoff field right?
I think they did, but they went about it the wrong way because they had Notre Dame ranked ahead of Miami the whole time, even before last week. Then neither team plays and Miami jumps them. So I know Miami won the head-to-head, but I just feel like the way they went about it was wrong. And also, I think we kind of have to blame the ACC here for the tiebreaker rules, because if they would have had Miami and Virginia in the playoff in the championship game, the winner of that gets in, and then Notre Dame would also be in instead of James Madison. So we got to blame the ACC a little bit here also.
Okay. Is it time Notre Dame joins a conference?
Yeah, for sure. They're in the ACC for basketball. I think eventually we'll see them just join a conference for all the sports. Makes more sense.
I'm with you there. Okay, now looking at the futures lines for who could win it all, what's it looking like here? Give me the breakdown.
So Ohio State and Indiana are definitely power rated the highest right now, and that reflects in our odds on the board over there. We actually do really good on Ohio State and Georgia, which is good because they're 2 of the top 4 teams, we'll say. We're trying to dodge Texas Tech, Ole Miss, and Miami. They were higher odds to start the year, so we're kind of rooting for a chalky tournament in some ways.
Okay. And going back to when the odds were released, like a year ago at this point, any heavy liability on any particular team?
Texas and Penn State saw a lot of liability, so we're glad they're not even in the tournament. And then actually Notre Dame was bad for us too, so it kind of worked out for us that they didn't get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Great stuff there from our pal Casey. It's always nice.
Casey's a king, right?
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Jack has a crush on Casey.
Such a good dude.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now getting into the playoff, there are 4 teams with the first round bye. So how does that benefit these teams? Is there a benefit to it? What does history say here?
So benefits of the bye week. Everyone comes back rested, ready, tanned, healthy.
Man.
So last year, and again, we don't have a lot of history for the 12-team tournament, but last year, 4 teams had a first-round bye. They played their first game at a neutral site, not at their home field, and that came over New Year's. And what happened? Number 1 seed, Oregon, lost by 20 to number 8 seed, Ohio State. Number 2 seed, Georgia, lost by 13 to number 7, Notre Dame. Number 3 seed, Boise, lost by 17 to James Franklin's Penn State squad. And number 4, Arizona State, lost by 8. That game did come in double overtime, but they lost by 8 to Texas. So Penn State was minus 11.5. Oregon was a 2.5-point dog. Texas was minus 13, failed to cover. Notre Dame minus 1 against Georgia. It wasn't exactly a great time for the favorites. Certainly not the bigger favorites, though Penn State took care of business. But the teams that had the first round bye, they all lost last year. Jack, do we expect more of the same this year?
I don't. I would not put a lot into that. You look at that, and a lot of the teams, including Ohio State, that ended up being the best team in the country, they had things happen late. They lose to Michigan, so you saw a lot of the better teams getting the bye last year. I don't think that'll continue. Now, we may be proven wrong, but I think you can look at that a little bit like you would pro football, and that the rest is helpful. Being able to be a little more imaginative is beneficial. A flat start maybe sometimes, because these coaches also, we don't give enough credit to coaches trying to get into this rhythm, how you practice, when you go hard, those type of things. That's all kind of new to college coaches, where the pro coaches have been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And bowl games, before the bowl games, you get a month off, but it didn't matter all that much. You were going to say, sorry.
But it's important to note the moral here, okay? The moral is Vegas gets it right, the committee gets it wrong, okay? Vegas will tell you where the team should be seated. The point spreads will tell you who the committee power rated too high and who the committee power rated too low. And look, that happens in March as well. It's nothing new that Vegas gets it right. When you see the 12 seed laying points to the 5 seed, you know that Vegas gets it right / the committee gets it wrong. Now that's happening in college football every bit as much as college basketball.
It is such a cocky view. You're right, though. I mean, but it is cocky because they do get it right more times than not. But I will tell you, those same line setters did have Texas Tech at 85-1. They did have Indiana long. And so, but as they get closer, you're right. I mean, they're never going to start relying on each other. I mean, it's not like the committee's going to say, hey, who's Vegas like in this deal? But, yeah, when you're looking for who truly is the best, they, at the very minimum, will be the tiebreaker of the lines.
So when you're trying to kind of get a read on the situation, do you, suggest that people go look at Vegas's lines and make a decision based off that?
Absolutely.
They should, yeah.
So don't play your bowl pools without looking at a point spread. You know, I mean, the point spread will tell you which teams are supposed to win, and the point spread will tell you much clearer than any committee ranking. A
committee has nothing on the line. I mean, also other than reputation, the thing about Vegas is, which trumps every bit, they have dollars and things that pay our bills, things that provide food. Their lines are set on that. That's always going to trump some dude sitting in a room that played football back in the day saying, I think the eye test passed Indiana more than they do. Nobody cares about that. When money's on the line, those lines are going to be tighter.
And let's be real, the committee, how many games they watch? I mean, you and I watch college football every Saturday. I've watched every one of these teams that are in the playoffs play on half a dozen at least occasions this season. The committee doesn't, all right? They don't live college football. They live their own athletic program, and then the athletic directors might watch the conference championship games together.
You're not buying them sitting around in the room together, eating popcorn and watching games?
And what do you think?
Yeah, well, who do you like today? Let's not
Top
do it.
4 seeds, obviously, with buys this year. Indiana, number 1, Ohio State, 2, Georgia, 3, Texas Tech, who Jack is rooting for at 85-1, number 4.
I'm going to buy a pony if they win.
Okay. Okay, so I thought there was more to that.
No, I could rain delay this show really easily if you let me.
Okay.
You got to be ready.
Excellent. All right, still to come on Chalk and Chat. We're moving on from everything that Jack says. We're looking outside of the playoff at some of the best bowl games, including the one here in Las Vegas. Stick around. We're bringing it down.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, we are getting away from the playoff for a second because there are some pretty good bowl games that we want to talk about. So, Teddy, let's start with the one right here in our home city of Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. The Las Vegas Bowl on New Year's Eve, early on New Year's Eve at
Good
12:30.
slot, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great slot, and it should be a fun game. Utah 16.5-point favorites against Nebraska, 50.5 the total. And again, line subject to move. We're recording this ahead of time, but the Utes favored by 3 scores against the Huskers here, and every early sharp dollar has come on Utah for Kyle Whittingham's send-off. Whittingham, a Hall of Fame level head coach. This will be his last game coaching Utah, and certainly the betting markets expect that to be impactful for Utah's interest in this ballgame. This is a team that's top 15 in power rating, one of the best teams not in the playoffs. And we look at their opponent, it's been a messy offseason already for the Cornhuskers. You know, the quarterback, Dylan Raiola, departed from the program. He's not the only one who's been leaving, and some of the nuance behind the scene hasn't necessarily been pretty for Nebraska. And this team hasn't been able to stop the run at all down the stretch. They were gashed by Iowa. They were gashed by Penn State. Their last 2 games lost 40-16 and 37-10. I understand the point spread's a great equalizer. Utah didn't cover, -10.5, minus Kansas in the last 2 games, but I think they take care of business in this one. Utah or pass.
Okay, Utah or pass. We're rooting for Coach Witt. And then there's another one that you like, too.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Pop-Tarts Bowl. What better bowl than the Pop-Tarts Bowl on
Love a Pop-Tart.
December 27th? BYU against Georgia Tech. BYU is older and stronger than most teams in the trenches. That's one of the hidden benefit of going on missions. You get older kids who are stronger than their opponents. And Georgia Tech is replacing their play caller, Buster Faulkner, who took the Florida offense coordinator job. But the QB coach, Chris Wenke, he's going to call plays in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and Haynes King, the senior QB, Bear Bachmeier, the Frosh QB. I think that matters here. I'm interested in the Yellow Jackets plus the points in the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
The Vegas Bowl will be very well attended, too. Nebraska and Utah both. They travel very well.
Yeah, they're expecting record numbers this year. Utah has been to Vegas like 17 times. Nebraska's never played here before, so that'll be interesting as well.
You can tell when they're in town, everybody's wearing red.
Lots of red on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them are white.
No, it's going to be popping off. Yeah, and, let's talk about your games. Not as many Mormons playing in the games you're going to talk about.
No, sadly.
Yeah.
But I do like the angle of the older player that cares about games, and that's what you're looking for this time of year, are teams that care and teams that want to be there. And when we look at the teams like Penn State and Clemson, we have culture programs. Yes, we had the coaching turnover at Penn State, but it was early on in the year. They've really kind of settled the boat since then. We kind of know what we're getting. What we've been getting is a more offensive output team. They've been scoring more points. Clemson not scoring as many points, but you have 4 kids entered the portal there so far. You'll have more coming. But this is a culture program with Dabo Swinney that you're going to get consistent play, people that care. So I think both these offenses will perform better. Clemson's not scored a bunch of points this year, but better in the last month or so. Expect more points in this game. Let's go over the total in the Pinstripe Bowl between Penn State and Clemson.
All right, and how about that Citrus Bowl with Michigan and Texas, a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, you've got lots of variables there as well, right? You've got Texas has a bunch of players that are opting out because of getting ready for the draft or whatever. And most of those are defensive players. They got a couple pass rushers that are out. So that will matter as far as them getting to the quarterback. But I do think this is the type of game that you're going to have conservative offensive game plans, not getting players in harm, trying to turn the ball over, but you're going to get kids that care on both sides. Michigan's had a bunch of stuff going on, but it hasn't been on the field. Let's go under the total in the Michigan-Texas game as well.
All right, Total King. All right, finally on Chalk and Chat. We may be talking college, but we still got best bets. They're on the way. Next.
You're watching Chalk and Chat, sponsored by Superbook in Westgate, Las Vegas.
All right, let's just cut to the chase. Let's just get to the best bets, Chuck.
I'm trying to restructure the entire bowl season.
And I'm like, don't talk to me. We're going to show. Okay, tell me, what's your best bet?
Tennessee, Illinois. Let's go over. All right, I'm not. It's not all about totals, but this week it has been all about. This year's been all about totals, and it's because Tennessee sets up for a lot of points in this game. They have the 4th best offense in the entire country. Their secondary is the worst in the SEC. They give up a ton of passing yards. Illinois averaging 29 points a game. They have a better offense, at least over the last month, than I think the most of the country realizes. over the total in the Illinois-Tennessee game.
All right, Teddy, what do you got for us?
Let's talk the Sun Bowl New Year's Eve. I like Duke minus the short price against Arizona State minus 2.5 as we record. Mm-hmm. The Sun Devils made the playoffs last year, and they're in the Sun Bowl this year. I can't call that anything but a disappointment. Arizona State, all 3 of their last losses, the offense didn't work. They scored 7 against Zona, 16 against Houston, 10 against Utah. I think that's likely to be a problem against Duke. And their power rated too high. They had a signature win against Texas Tech. They had an upset win at Iowa State, another one at Baylor. These teams shouldn't be priced as high as they. I know they had success, but I don't think they're as good as the number would indicate. Jeff Sims, the quarterback for the Sun Devils, the Georgia Tech-Nebraska transfer, he's a big downgrade versus Sam Levitt, who's in the transfer portal. Duke got bombed by Ole Miss in the bowl game last year. I think they take care of business this year. Darian Mensah, 30-5 TD interception ratio. Duke minus the points New Year's Eve.
Duke was one of my 4-0 during my kidney stone week 2 weeks ago.
Okay, God
Over
bless
Virginia.
the kidney stone week.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's pull up those futures odds for the playoff right now. Teddy, what's jumping out at you from what we're seeing here?
The team that's top left on that list, Ohio State, the defending champs, and they're the favorites this year for a reason. The only bet I'm interested in is Ohio State to win it all.
Yeah, I think, George, we could be overlooking the SEC because they cannibalize each other during the year, and we may look back if Georgia wins it all and say, yeah, the SEC really is the best, and these northern teams really beat up on each other to create that elevation as far as the rankings go. So I look for Georgia to be kind of a little bit of a flyer, along with Texas Tech. We don't know exactly what they are. This is a great team up front on both sides of the ball, and they've dominated. They've covered every single game this year except one, and that was the game their quarterback was out. So they've been beating the number as well. Vegas doesn't respect them.
How do we feel about Indiana after all they've accomplished this season?
They've done nothing but win.
That's true. Amen. Okay, guys. Happy holidays. We'll see you in the new year.